Hello, welcome back to nannyreilly.com, Tales Along the Trail. With your complimentary ebook, I'm going to take it up in chapter 2 where I left off. Well then, said Princess Tara, don't look in the sack. You can let me out without looking. But then if I go back to King Brian with an empty sack, he'll make a mushroom grow out of my head, whimpered Nanny. Why did you have to run into the sack anyway? Why didn't you just let another rabbit run into your burrow and you stay put? Because that burrow is my house, Princess Tara replied as she kept pushing the walls of the sack. When that rabbit came charging in, I got a fright and came charging out. You had the sack open. It's dark and I couldn't see very well. I didn't realize I was running into a sack. As soon as I realized it was too late, you had already tied up the sack and I couldn't get out. But why does King Brian want you? Why does he want to take you away from your father, King Rory, king of the leprechauns of all Ballinesker? Nanny Reilly asked. Because he wants the crock of gold, Princess Tara said. King Brian is my uncle, my father's brother, and he is banished forever from Ballinesker. That's why he tricked you into coming here. If he steps foot into Ballinesker, he'll turn into a rabbit. He'll turn into a rabbit? Is that a curse like a mushroom growing out of the top of my head, Nanny asked. Yes, it is, answered the princess. And he'll stay a rabbit as long as he stays mean. Nanny wondered if Ned Frainie could be turned into a rabbit. Why was he banished forever? And why does he want the crock of gold? Nanny asked. He was banished forever from Ballinesker because he played too many mean tricks on people. He wants the crock of gold because whoever has the crock of gold shall have all that he or she desires. And King Brian wants all of Ballinesker and Coolrainey. But what does that have to do with you? Why does he want you? Asked Nanny, sitting up a little straighter and pushing her sneakers in circles on the cool grass. He wants me because he knows my father, King Rory, king of all the leprechauns of Ballinesker, will give him anything he asks for to get me back, replied Princess Tara. Can King Brian really make a mushroom grow out of the top of my head? Asked Nanny in a sad, inquisitive voice. Henry Daly sat beside Nanny and put his paw on her lap. He looked up at her and blinked his soft brown eyes several times and whimpered. He can, replied Princess Tara, sounding determined, and I can turn your ears into a rabbit's ears and your nose into a pig's nose, so you better let me out. Can you help me? I don't know what I should do, said Nanny. I would like to let you go, but I'm afraid King Brian will make a mushroom grow out of my head. Sure, I can help you. Just don't look in the sack. Turn away while I climb out of here. Then, when I'm out, we'll make a plan to trick King Brian, and maybe he'll never trick anybody again, said Princess Tara. I've learned a trick or two myself. The little princess punched the side of the sack to punctuate her words. Okay, said Nanny. Here goes. Keeping her eyes shut, Nanny opened the sack with one hand. She placed her other hand on top of her head. If a mushroom started to grow, she could push it back down. Free at last, sighed Princess Tara, sounding much clearer now that she was out of the sack. May I open my eyes now? Asked Nanny Reilly. You may, answered Princess Tara. Nanny opened her eyes. Before her on the grass stood a girl no more than 8 inches tall with long red wavy hair. She wore pink pajamas with tiny green shamrocks all over them and a gold crown with diamonds all around it on her head. You surely are tiny, said Nanny. You're smaller than King Brian. Of course I am, replied the little princess as she wiped her forehead with her tiny pink lace handkerchief. I still have a lot of growing to do. My mother told me I'm going to grow as tall as my Aunt Betsy, and she's 9.5 inches tall. The little princess sneezed. It's very stuffy in there. Have you ever been tied up in a sack before? No, I haven't, Nanny said. But Ned Frainie locked me in the coal shed once. He told me Henry Daly was trapped in there and couldn't get out. I ran in to rescue Henry Daly, and sure he wasn't in there at all. Then Ned Frainie slammed the door behind me and locked it. Nanny shuddered, remembering the metallic smell and the darkness of the coal shed. I was in there all day until my mother opened the door that night. She came to get coal to light the fire. Why didn't you shout and kick to get out like I did to get out of the sack? Asked Princess Tara. I did. Then I fell asleep, and when my mother opened the coal shed door, she got the fright of her life. Coal dust had made my hair, face, hands and clothes as black as the pots, and she thought I was a hairy monster, Nanny said. Princess Tara laughed, which Nanny thought was a little rude, since she had just let the princess escape. I like you, Princess Tara laughed, even though you tried to kidnap me. What is your name? Nanny Reilly, and this is my dog Henry Daly, answered Nanny. Henry Daly comes everywhere with me now since Ned Frainie locked me in the coal shed. It sounds to me like Ned Frainie is a little bit like King Brian, said the princess. He likes to play mean tricks on people. Princess Tara scratched her head, tipping her crown for a moment. She righted the crown and stood tall and straight. Nanny felt herself sit up a little taller and put her shoulders back. The princess removed her crown and placed it carefully on the grass. She tilted her head to the right, gathered her long red hair over her shoulder and braided it. She snapped her fingers and a tiny velvet green ribbon appeared in the palm of her hand. She tied a neat bow at the end of her braid, threw her hair back over her shoulder, and then placed her crown back on her head. Nanny had seen the snapping of the fingers trick before, but it still made her eyes widen. It's time for us to stop King Brian once and for all, said the princess. We have to make a plan so he won't play any more mean tricks on anyone. She paused and then said, I have an idea. Here's what we should do. I'll leave it there. Log on to nannyreilly.com, find out what they do.